Good evening. My name is Caroline Jeffries. I'm the Dean of Studies here at Lindisfarne. Welcome to our subject selection webinar for Year 11 Subjects 2021. This evening we are going to go through with all the directors and going to show you all the subjects that they offer. And we're going to start off with a clip from the Director of Careers and Vet, Mr. Barry.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Barry Woods and I'm the Director of Careers and Vet, and I'm just going to be obviously discussing the vet courses for students in Year 11 2021. Now, the vocational education and training or vet courses in the HSC, they are what we call dual accreditation. They count for a subject in the HSC, and students can get a qualification ranging from a statement of attainment through to a Cert 3. The first subject I'm going to talk about is hospitality kitchen operations. With all vet subjects, there's always core units that students do and then elective units. So in this case, it's the mandatory or core units are hygiene, safety, working in the hospitality industry. And the stream that students will be doing is kitchen operations, as I've mentioned, and some of the things they focus on there is food preparation, food safety, method of cookery, clean commercial kitchen. Now, why would students do this course? Because the first one, students interested in the hospitality area, they're looking at being possibility of a chef, and this subject gives great experience in that area. The other reason, which is our most popular reason, is that nearly all the students that are heading to university will use the hospitality course to obtain work during Year 11 and 12 and also at university. Students are prepared to have the skills to work in the front of the restaurant and at the back of the restaurant. They are really highly developed skills that they will learn in the kitchen under the guidance of the teachers over there. Now, as I've already mentioned, the HSC course has dual accreditation. Students gain credit towards the HSC, and they also gain a Cert 2 in kitchen operations or statement of attainment if they only complete some of the units. Now, there's work placement requirements. So Year 11 obviously must do 35 hours, same in Year 12, but that also factors in students can do up to 50% of their work placement through work functions that normally happen in a situation at school. So, for example, the P&F may be running a Mother's Day function. I appreciate in the current environment there's less events, but we'll work through that for next year as well. And then students can also, if they work already in the hospitality industry, that can be counted for 35 hours as well. The work placement is a compulsory component of the course. It's not set by the school, it's by NESA. Students must do that course, the work placement, to complete the requirements for that subject. Now, students don't have to organise their own work placement. We have a company that'll do that. So basically it's all organised for them. Students just turn up and learn. Now, for this course, it does count towards the ATAR. But only one vet course can be included in the calculations of a student's ATAR. So students will always have English, and they'll have another 4 board-developed courses. One of those can be hospitality, for example, or it could be construction, or it could be tourism. But I'll go into that in more detail later, or on an individual case if needed. Assessment is competency-based, so there's no marks. So either a student is competent in the task at that stage, or they need further practice or refinement. Some of the vet courses that count for the ATAR, as I've sort of mentioned, hospitality at school, automotive, construction, electrotechnology, tourism. And you'll be able to see the full list on the TAFE handout that I've emailed to students and parents. Now, Screener Media, that's another vet course we offer at school, and this course you get a Certificate 3. Now, this is different to the previous hospitality course, whereas, first of all, you'll still have your core units and you'll have your elective units. Students will still develop practical skills in Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, 2D animation. Students need to complete set questions and project tasks for each unit. The course is 70% theory, 30% practical. And the course is still, like all VET courses, it's still competency-based. But this is a content-endorsed course. It only counts for your HSC. This is really important. It only counts for your HSC. There's just school-based assessment. So if a student selected screen and media, then the other 5 subjects that they have in year 11, that is what they take through into year 12 if they want to be eligible for an ATAR. Students will get a certificate 3 if they complete all the units, as I've mentioned. Now, when students apply to QTAC, which is Queensland Tertiary Admission Centre, that's the organisation in Queensland that processes all the university applications. Students don't apply individually to university, just to one body in each state. Now, Griffith and Southern Cross have a VET pathway, so there's courses that, if a student has completed a Cert 3, they will guarantee them entry into that course. They can use that as a backup ATAR. So as I've already mentioned, you can refer to the TVET TAFE course list. Students attend TAFE on a Monday. There are some exceptions depending on the course. Bus drops students to Kingscliff TAFE. As I've already mentioned, some examples: construction, tourism, electrotechnology, automotive, are just some of the examples. Now, the process for students, so once they receive all the information, they've had time to discuss it with their parents and their teachers, students will then have an individual meeting with me. That will begin in week 8 on the Friday and continue through to week 9. So I'll interview every single year 10 student. For most students, that will be enough to allow them to select or finalise their subjects. If they need a repeat or a backup meeting, then that's what we'll do as well. We want to make sure that we get this right for the students.
So next to me I have Barry Woods, who's the Director of VET and Careers, and now I've got a few questions to ask Barry. So the first question are there any courses I can choose to maximise my ATAR?
Thanks, Caroline. This is a question that we get quite often in terms of parents and students worried about certain subjects that scale well. There's no subject in terms of that you'll do that enhances your scaling unless you do well in the subject. So, for example, we had a student last year got an ATAR of 98. That student did subjects like hospitality, business studies, standard maths, and at the end of the day, that student did very well in those subjects. So if you do well, then that will help your HSC results and your ATAR.
Excellent. So another question is, are there any subjects that you really would recommend students do?
Yeah, that's actually a hard question in terms of you're trying to anticipate what you might be interested in 2.5 years' time once you're exiting year 12. Wherever possible, I would encourage a broad range of subjects. I would certainly rely on and do things that you're interested in. There's always going to be certain subjects that you'll pick and with a career focus, but there'll be also subjects that you can do that will enhance your results simply because you enjoy the subject. You're doing them for 2 years, so you definitely, and this is the biggest thing out of all the subject choices that you'll do, is that if you pick something that you're interested in, you'll do better at.
Excellent. So just if you do have any questions, please make sure that you please put them into the live stream on the YouTube channel. That would be great so that we can ask as many questions as possible. Mr. Woods will be interviewing all the students in year 10 over the next couple of weeks to help them with their subject selection. And if you, as a parent, would like to also meet with Mr. Woods, please feel free to email him so that he can respond and make a time to meet with you. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Up next, we're going to have Mr. Horvath, who's going to come to talk to us about So up next we have Mr. Horvath. Mr. Horvath's Director of English, and he's going to talk to us about English in Year 11 and 12.
Okay, so the easy part of the English courses is that everybody has to do it. It's a compulsory subject, one of the only compulsory subjects for Year 11 and 12. The big question that most of you need answered is which course should your child do? Either advanced or standard English. The easy answer to that is that your child will know, and you need to trust their opinion and their judgment first and foremost. A number of students have already spoken to me about which course that they need to decide upon, and they've had really good conversations, and we've spoken as a group about the advantages and the disadvantages of doing either standard or advanced. Perhaps the crucial thing to remember is that standard English is a university course. That means that you can score a good ATAR in standard English, and most university courses do not actually have a prerequisite for advanced English. There's a little bit of a misconception that standard English is a general subject and it's not academic. That is not correct. The purpose of standard English is for university entrance. There is another course that we are not offering at the moment called English Studies. Standard English is probably got a bad name and a bad rap. So if you need to decide between advanced or standard English and your child is not quite sure yet, the easy suggestion is to come and speak to me or to their English teacher.
Okay, thank you. One of the questions is, what's the benefit of doing advanced English?
So doing advanced English is really designed for those students who enjoy English and who want to have a good go at it. We actually like to encourage students who aren't maybe quite sure. They might just be sort of thinking they want to do advanced, but they're not sure. We actually encourage them in Year 11 to do advanced. The skills and the texts that are done in that course offer probably more opportunity than the standard text, particularly in Year 11. The advantage of doing advanced English only comes, as Barry said before, if you do well. So more students in the state, roughly, I think it's about 50% of the state score band 5 and 6 in advanced English, whereas in standard English might be about 40% of the state score band 4. So if you are capable, and if is the key word there, if you are capable, then you should be doing advanced English. If you are not 100% sure, then you should be doing standard.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Horvath. So up next we have mathematics. Please remember, if you've got any questions, to type them into the comments section on the side of the stream. So we're now going to see a clip about mathematics and the levels of mathematics.
Hello, my name is Mr. Frank Malone. I'm the Director of Mathematics at Lindisfarne, and I'm here to talk to you about the options for your students for mathematics for next year. As you can see on the screen, there's 4 choices really. There's 3 subjects, and there's also the choice not to do mathematics, as mathematics is not compulsory. So the 3 levels are Standard 2 mathematics, Advanced mathematics, and some students choose to do Advanced mathematics and an extra Extension 1. From the levels we have in Year 10, there pretty much is some choices for accelerated 5.3 and 5.2 students. So if you're in accelerated maths this year, you can choose to go on to Year 11 and do the HSC and Year 11 Extension 1. You can choose to just do advanced maths and not pick up Extension 1, which means in Year 12 you have a choice of having no maths at all, maybe just Extension 1 maths, or even Extension 1 and Extension 2. So those students have got a lot of choices. For people in 5.3 advanced maths in Year 10, they can choose to do the advanced course and add on the extra extension unit. They can choose just to do advanced maths on its own, or they can even choose to do the standard course from the 5.3. And the students in 5.2 really have 2 choices. They have the mathematics standard course, or they can choose not to do mathematics at all. And I would suggest that you do that in the first choice, so that there are some other subjects that come up against maths, so you'll have more opportunities to choose things that you are interested in. So the three courses, the Mathematics Standards course pretty much is built on the 5.2 topics. So anyone in 5.2 would find that it's just a general progression to that course. Anyone who's come from 5.3 that maybe has struggled with some of those advanced concepts, the standard course is a good course for them. They've had a background in higher levels of maths, and it would probably benefit them from having that higher level and then going to the standard course. It's not an easy course. It ranks well. The ATAR scores of students in the last few years from the standard course have done extremely well, and certainly I would recommend it for someone who's not pursuing a career in mathematics or background, but is keen to do well in maths. It's very English based, a lot of reading and interpreting involved, but you can see from the topics here what's involved. For the next course, the advanced maths course, is definitely a heavily calculus or algebraic based course. Usually it's students who've done well in 5.3, who have a high ability in algebra, maybe have aspirations to be an engineer or an architect or move further in the mathematics field. My problem here is a lot of students choose this with the idea that they're going to improve their work ethic or they're going to try harder, and we always find that students who end up dropping to standard later on, it's a very difficult thing to do because the courses are so different, and you're better off choosing the correct level at the start. It's not recommended to have to drop after year 11 and then catch up on all the standard work. So my thing here would be, if you're umming and ahhing as an advanced student, you really should talk to your teacher because they've given you a recommendation. Look at the scores and make sure you make that judgment, with the next 6 months in mind. For the extension course, this is adding on an extra 1 unit. So anyone who's doing well in advanced maths or accelerated maths and wants to have that extra unit of maths, I definitely suggest you do this. A couple of concerns is that it locks away one of those lines when you're choosing, but if you're definitely going to be an engineer or actuary or something that involves mathematics, I certainly think it complements the advanced course, and it gives you the possibility to go on and do extension to mathematics in year 12, which every year we seem to have a class of, and so I'd recommend that for anyone who wants to extend themselves in mathematics. Some points to consider. I really think you should reflect on your interest, your ability, and definitely research what your future endeavours are. That involves talking to Mr. Woods, and listening to your teachers who taught you maths for the last 2 years. They've given you a recommendation. You can certainly come and talk to me about it. Every year we give kids at Lindisfarne an opportunity to extend themselves and aim higher. But if you don't have that work ethic and you don't realise what's involved, then you're not putting yourself in the best position. Definitely there is an increase in work in the levels between each course. A number of students choose standard to mathematics so they have a balanced approach across all their subjects, which I understand, but those extension or advanced courses are for people who really want to put effort and time into mathematics. Some other things, you should talk to Mr. Woods about the future education, what's required, because a number of universities it might be a prerequisite. What I do suggest you don't do is have a bad choice based on what your friend's doing. The prestige of maths. Some people say, I've always been good at maths, I have to choose the highest level. If it's not suited to your academic ability or your work ethic, I definitely suggest not to. And I often hear false promises of increased work. I've written up there that Santa doesn't bring work ethic and algebra skills. If you really want to increase your work ethic, you've got 6 months before year 11 starts. You can try and show that you can improve in that time. And finally, if you have any other questions, you certainly can email me at the school or ring if you have some questions you'd like to talk to me about. But obviously I'd suggest you talk to other students, ones in year 11 and 12, and maybe even the teachers that have taught you maths over the past few years, what they think. We're always here to answer questions. Thank you.
I'm now joined by Mr. Frank Malone, the Director of Mathematics, who's going to talk to us about some of the questions we've had about mathematics. So the first question, Frank, is can students choose advanced and then drop down to standard?
Look, the simple answer is yes, of course they can. But we'd probably suggest that students choose wisely now. Each Year 10 maths teacher has actually sat with students and talked to them about, what their choices are and where their best abilities lie. So I would suggest that certainly the students should choose correctly from the outset to save themselves some heartache later on. The problem with dropping down is always that the courses are so different that it's very hard to catch up on work that you've missed. So one of the things I like is that we give Mr Woods a list of the teachers' recommendations for maths, and then he talks to them individually and counsels them on probably the best level of mathematics to choose. So while yes, they can drop, I'd certainly suggest they choose the correct level from the outset.
Excellent. So I know we have a number of students who are already doing Year 11 mathematics. So one of the other questions is, which students should choose Extension 1 mathematics?
Look, that's a hard one, again, depending on career choices and also past experience. A lot of students choose an extension subjects just to fit in with their line of studies. I'm not suggesting that's a good idea. To me, if you're done well in advanced maths and you've either been accelerated or you're up the top of 5.3, then certainly extension maths is a good thing to pick up because you get an extra unit worth of maths to study. So again, that would be recommended by the teacher. And if you're in doubt as a student, then certainly you should contact either me or the staff member to discuss your selection.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr Malone. And up next, we're going to see a clip from Director of Visual Arts, Ms Jane Brennan. But just remember, if you've got any questions, please make sure that you type them into the stream so that we can answer as many questions as possible.
Hi, my name's Jane Brennan. I'm the Director of Visual Arts here at Lindisfarne, and I'm here to talk to you about two subjects, Visual Arts and Textiles and Design. Firstly, Visual Arts is a continuum from Stage 5 or Stage 4. You generally study it for 2 years in Year 11 and 12, and we study a variety of topics. And you get to work across multiple media in Year 11 and 12. Students will learn and develop knowledge, skills and understanding of how students represent their interpretations of the world in art making. So this is the practical component of the course. This year, Year 11 have worked in painting and drawing and are now doing a postmodernist unit, which also incorporates installation, documented form, video, photography. So we're basically prepping you in the Year 11 course for the Year 12 course, where you get to choose and make your own work based on anything you like or are interested in. There's also a theory component to the course, which is the critical and historical component of the course. This is delivered through case studies in Year 12. And the artists we study are used for you to write about in your HSC exam. In Year 11, the artists that we study and the theoretical components that we study are used to inform your art making practice. So you need the artists in order to do well in what you are making, and also you will use them for the preliminary exam. So in the PowerPoint slides, there is some details about what we study specifically in the preliminary course and the HSC course. The courses are very similar. The HSC course is obviously more in-depth and detailed, but the preliminary course is a really good foundation, particularly if you haven't studied art for maybe not in Stage 5 or since Stage 4. You can definitely still pick art up in Year 11, as we are basically relearning everything to prep for Year 12. So the main reason why people study visual arts is because of the body of work. So the body of work is basically a large-scale artwork or a large body of work that a student will work on for approximately 12 months. Students get to decide all aspects of that body of work and work in conjunction with their teacher to get the best results for you. So There are so many different types of media that you can do for your visual arts body of work. It is not just painting and drawing anymore. Some of the expressive forms are obviously painting, drawing, photo media, which is photography and video. You can do printmaking, textiles and fibre, graphic design, designed objects, sculpture, ceramics, and time-based forms. If you're creative or you are interested in pursuing a creative career, visual arts is a great foundation for that. Regardless of whether you might like to go into advertising, graphic design, anything like that, visual arts will help support that field for you. It's all about creativity and demonstrating what you can do through different forms and what you can say through your art form. So textiles is about fashion, sewing. We learn about properties and performance of fibres, so how fabric is made, what fabric is made out of, and obviously you learn how to sew and make, yes, clothing, but also other items such as, household items. But the Year 11 course is predominantly based around learning how to use the machine, particularly if you haven't sewn before, and also how to make patterns, adjust patterns. There's a heavy design component, so if you are really interested in design and designing textile items, this is a perfect unit for you. You'll also learn a lot of application techniques, embellishments, dyeing, things like that as well. In the HSC course for textiles, there is a major textiles project, which accounts for 50% of the course. So the major textiles project is made up of a portfolio and then a textile garment or textile item. So this generally takes the students 12 months to produce, and it is a lot of work, but the results and the creativity and the fun that people have creating their textiles project is always worth it in the end.
Don't make me laugh. I'm now joined with Jane Brennan, who's going to talk to us about visual arts and textiles and design. So Jane, we've got a couple of questions. So the first question is, how many hours do I need to spend on a body of work?
So the body of work for visual arts is generally completed over a 12-month period. So there is no set amount of time that NESA recommends you to spend on your body of work, but most students would spend between 50 and 100 hours developing their artwork. Depending on the complexity of the artwork, it could be shorter, it could be longer, but there is a fair bit of dedication that will be required outside of school to complete the body of work adequately.
Excellent. So the next question is, how much theory is there in the visual arts course?
So the course is weighted 50% critical and historical and 50% art making. So that means the visual arts course has a 50% theoretical weighting, which is where we study art history, we look at artists, and we also look at more contemporary practicing artists as well, that you will then use to write about in your HSC exam.
Excellent. So one of the other questions is, how long is the actual visual arts high school certificate examination?
The visual arts HSC exam is one of the shortest. It is only an hour and a half, but there is a lot you need to get through in that time period. My job as a teacher is to basically train your hand so you can write as much information as you need to during that hour and a half time period. But yeah, it's one of the shorter papers.
Excellent, thank you. So one of the other questions about major works is, should I do more than one subject with a major work?
This is a really individual decision that students need to consider. After you heard me speak about how much time a body of work or even a major work for any other subjects can take, it's a discussion you need to have with your teacher, and it's also a discussion you probably should have with your parents about how you learn the best. Are you better at a more assessment-based task, or are you better at in exam conditions? I would recommend not studying any more than 2. because you can't do it adequately. But it depends on the person, but 1 is very doable for most people, and if you're looking at doing 2 subjects with 2 majors, then definitely have a discussion with the teachers of those subjects and maybe Mr. Woods.
That's excellent advice, because sometimes all the major works are all due the same time, so it can be quite stressful in Year 12 when they're all due at the same time.
Yeah.
So I've now got some questions about textiles and design. So one of the questions is, do I need to know how to sew before you do textiles in Year 11?
Look, it would be good if you had some skills around the sewing machine, or you were really willing to put the hours in to bring yourself up to speed with the skills required to do the Stage 6 Textiles and Design course, but it isn't a prerequisite. Staff, myself and Miss Damon, who works alongside me, will be more than happy to support you in terms of developing those sewing skills if you really want to do textiles. So it's not a prerequisite, but it would be good.
So one of the other questions is, obviously textiles also does have a major project, but how long roughly do you think it would take a student to complete their major textiles project?
So the MTP is made up of the actual textile item and a portfolio. And they're weighted evenly. So it's really important that students don't put all of their time into just making the garment or the textile projects. They also have to manage their time to complete the portfolio. So again, probably you're well up into the hours developing the major textile project, but we do work on it at school and you can take it home and work on it. So I would say around that 50-hour mark, yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much, Ms. Brennan. Up next, we're going to have a clip from PDHP, and then we'll be talking to Mrs. Gay Maynard.
Good evening. I'm Gay Maynard, and I'm the Director of Personal Development, Health and Physical Education at Lindisfarne. PDHP has been a core component of the curriculum throughout each student's compulsory education until Year 10. So why continue to study PDHPE in Stage 6? The aim of PDHPE is to develop in each student a capacity to think critically about key issues related to health and physical activity, in order to make informed decisions which support and contribute to healthy, active lifestyles and communities. PDHPE is studied in classes for 8 periods a cycle or fortnight. Practical lessons are taught when appropriate. There are no marks awarded for sports performance. What this means in real terms is our elite athletes at Lindisfarne, of which we have many, will not be awarded for their performances on the court, on the oval, on the track, etc. They will only be awarded marks for their assignment pieces and their actual HSC examination results. The preliminary course examines a range of areas that underpin health and physical activity. This includes how people manage their personal health and how the body moves. In addition, students study first aid and outdoor recreation. In the HSC course, in Year 12, students focus on major issues related to Australia's health status. They also look at factors that affect physical performance. Studies also focus on how to improve performance and safe participation by learning about advanced approaches to training and sports medicine. As well as the traditional tests of formative knowledge in Stage 6 PDHPE, we also have the students teach their peers. Working on Einstein's theory, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. They use various methods to communicate their ideas, thoughts, and understanding of the syllabus. These have included Kahoots, practical games, board games, TV game shows, moving documentaries, podcasts, and even a Survivor event to share their knowledge with the rest of the class.
I'm now joined by Mrs. Gay Maynard, the Director of PDHP, who's going to be answering a few questions about PDHP. So So Gay, I've got one question for you to start off with. Do I need to be an elite athlete in order to do PDHP in Year 11?
No. The simple answer is no. You do not need to be an elite athlete. You have to be scientifically minded, and you need to be able to write a good answer using good key verbs in English, and know the terminology surrounding sport, but you do not have to be an athlete. I tried to explain in the video that being good at sport does not mean to say that you're going to be good at PDHP in stage 6.
Excellent. So one of the other questions is, should I have studied physical activity and sports studies, or otherwise known as PASS, as an elective in stage 5 to do PDHP in stage 6?
PASS is not a prerequisite to stage 6 PDHPE. It can help, particularly in Year 11. There's one part of the course which is focusing on the body in motion, and in Year 11, and that course has been covered quite comprehensively in Year 10 PASS, and when we looked at the actual body systems working together. So it does help to have that general background knowledge, but it is, again, it's not a prerequisite. An interest in how our body moves, works, an interest in health and the health of Australians is the real need for if you want to study stage 6 PDHPE.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mrs. Maynard. Next, we're going to hear from Mr. Hardy in Performing Arts. We're going to watch a quick clip which talks about drama, dance and music.
Good evening and welcome to our presentation on Performing Arts at Lindisfarne. My name is Todd Hardy. I'm the Director of Performing Arts. I'm joined by Loretta Visser, our Senior Drama Teacher. This evening we'll be discussing the 4 subjects which are offered in Performing Arts. First of all, we have 2 music courses on offer, a drama course and a dance course. Music 1 is the first and most common music course that we offer. It's a contemporary and pop-based course, and students they have the opportunity to follow their own pathway on their particular instrument or voice. They'll be studying performance, composition, musicology and oral. All of those areas are equally balanced in Year 11, and then when in Year 12 students have the choice then of working out a particular area that they would like to major in. The Music 2 course is a more classically based course, and it's for students who had background in AME, B or theory exams, and also performing in a classical style. That particular course starts in Year 11 looking at the history of Western music, starting with Baroque, then classical and romantic. Then students in Year 12 then move to Australian art music, and they also, like the Music 1 course, they also then have an opportunity to major in a particular area, whether it's composition, performance or a musicology. And particularly the Music 2 course, which is more classically based, that would be something not quite by invitation, but students should come to the music department and have a chat with us about the prerequisites and the level required for that course. I'll now pass over to Loretta, who'll tell us a little bit about drama.
Okay, the drama course for Year 11 sets you up ready for Year 12. So if you haven't done drama in a while, it gives you all the basics that you need. If you have done drama, it's a little bit more in depth. In Year 12, we break into 4 different areas. The first is Australian drama, of which you study some plays in class and you write about those in your essays at the end of the year. Then you've got studies in drama, and then you do 2 practical projects. One is the group performance, that's compulsory, with everyone creating a playbill performance in groups of 3 to 6. And then you have the individual project. The most popular one is the monologue, but there are other options in design, critical analysis, script writing and video. So come and have a talk to us to talk about a little bit more about the options there with those if you're interested.
Fantastic. Dance. Well, dance is broken into 4 different areas. Our wonderful dance teacher Amber Phillips takes this course. The 4 areas which are equally weighted in Year 11 are dance as an art form, dance performance, dance composition and dance appreciation. Like the other performing arts subjects, then when students move into Year 12, after they've had a taste of those, they then move into an area that they'd like to sort of focus or major in.
I'm now joined by Mr. Todd Hardy, the Director of Performing Arts, who's going to answer a few questions for us. So thanks, Todd. So the first question is, do I need to undertake private instrumental or vocal lessons to take the music course?
That's a fantastic question, and look, that certainly helps. It's not a prerequisite. It certainly helps. It does work with this particular course parallel with what we do in the classroom. Students also prepare their own performances on their own. They find their own pathway on their own instrument. So when they're doing that, whether it be voice or an instrument, they do need to source appropriate repertoire and also just work on the techniques for their instrument. So it's certainly recommended if they can. We'd certainly recommend that.
Excellent. So another question about music is, do you need to be able to read music to select the music course?
Well, there are two courses that we offer. The main course we offer is, the most popular course we offer is Music 1. And for Music 1, you do not need to read, it's not essential that you read music notation. It can, there is some music notation used in the composition aspects of the course, but it's certainly not a prerequisite, and we sort of work our way around that. It's more of an overall how well you perform and how well you compose. Yes, so that particular tool is not required.
Okay, so now I've got a couple of questions about drama. So one of the questions is, do I need to study drama in Year 10 to select the drama Stage 6 course?
No, you do not need to have selected drama. I know quite a few of our creative students try some different things in Year 9 and 10, and then they come back to what they really love, which is the performing arts. So they've rejoined the drama course in Year 11, and they do not need to. Although that helps, certainly, yeah, they do not need to do that.
Okay, so we've got another question about dance. So one of the things with dance is, can you study dance for Stage 6 if you're not really dancing outside of school?
Similarly to the my comments on music, it helps. So it's not a prerequisite, and we certainly do not discourage students who have not danced outside of school to be involved. However, this particular course is really aimed and suited for students who are dancing outside of school, who have a real passion for it and want to take that to the next level. So that's really who it's aimed at. Having said that, we don't discount. We don't discount that there will be students who have not danced outside of school, who don't do dancing outside of school.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Hardy. And up next, we're going to have Mr. Henderson, who's going to talk to you about the Technical and Applied Science faculty. I think first we've got a clip of the subjects on offer from that faculty.
Hello, my name is Steve Henderson and I'm the Director of TAS here at Lindisfarne. Today I want to share with you a subject offering that we'll be giving from our Department of Stage 6 Engineering Studies. So the first question you may be asking is, what is engineering? So engineering is the scientific field that gets you to invent, design and build practical projects to solve problems and achieve goals. This can include the development of roads, bridges, cars, planes, machines, tools, processes, and then finally some computers. So who should be doing this course? This course will suit you if you have any or all of the following qualities. You have a natural curiosity and inquisitive mind that wonders about the way things work and why, are a logical thinker who likes to make decisions based on factual data, enjoy solving problems and have some interest in creativity and innovation, and most importantly, a keen attention to detail. So what does this subject offer in the long run? Stage 6 Engineering Studies introduces students to first year content for any engineering degree. QT gives an additional 2 ATAR ranks for students entering the Bachelor of Engineering with the Honours program, while Griffith gives an optional study pathway through the guest program, which gives a first year engineering subject qualification and automatic entry into Griffith University Engineering degree program. While it's not a prerequisite for any other engineering degrees, it will certainly make your life a lot easier for that first year. So the content that you'll be covering in our course, in Year 11 you'll be doing Engineering Fundamentals, Engineered Products, Braking Systems and Biomedical Engineering. In Year 12 you'll be doing Civil Structures, Personal and Public Transport, Aeronautical Engineering and then Telecommunications. And this is just a quick little picture of what we actually do in our course. So the balsa bridge you'll see up here is going to be built and tested under a live load until it snaps. So that's quite a fun little activity. And then we also have an excursion to a local bus factory where we get to see the assembly process of making the buses. And then these are just some of the opportunities that students get to see, these real-world engineering experiences. Stage 6 Industrial Technology Multimedia will be a brand new subject that we'll be offering next year for Year 11. So the first question you may be asking is, what is multimedia? If we look it up in a dictionary, multimedia is the use of a variety of artistic or communicative media. So how does this reflect in the industrial technology subject that we're offering? So students will get the opportunity to create a movie, then a game, and then lastly they'll learn how to create a website. This will be done over the whole course of Year 11. When they enter Year 12, they'll then choose one of these 3 subjects and become the expert in it for their final project. So the software that you get to learn in this subject, there's a whole heap. We will basically become the master of Adobe. So we'll learn the whole Adobe suite. This will include Illustrator for image editing, Photoshop for photo touch-ups, Premiere Pro for video cutting, Audition for sound editing, After Effects for some motion graphics and special effects, and then lastly Dreamweaver for all the websites that we'll be creating. Lastly, they'll learn how to use Unity, where they'll learn how to use the Unity editor, which is a 3D engine, and then they'll also learn a bit of coding in Visual Studio. So the next main question I get is, who should do this course? This course will suit you if you have any or all of the following qualities. If you enjoy designing, being creative, and generating ideas while being innovative, this is the course for you. If you're logical in the way that you think, and then like problem solving and making decisions, this is the course for you. And then lastly, if you have a keen eye and attention to detail with an appreciation of multimedia, this is definitely the course for you. So what does this subject offer as you go through the course? So students will have the opportunity to learn the design cycle and create multiple multimedia projects, including movies, games, and websites. They'll then also have their final project, where they'll learn project management skills from the very beginning all the way through to the end and learn how to master that skill. The course content that will be covered in Year 11, again, in order, will be making the movie first, then the game second, then the website, and lastly the industry study. In Year 12, they'll choose one of those 3 topics and choose a project of their decision, so to make something that is of industry standard. We'll also learn industry studies along the way so that we can reflect on the skills that we're learning and see how they apply in the real world. So here's the skills that you'll basically learn. So we'll begin with movie making with Premiere Pro and After Effects. So at the moment this is actually a green screen behind me, so we'll learn how to use the chroma key option. And then we'll basically learn all those Adobe products, which just out of interest was actually used for all the Marvel movies. So all the Avengers and the Deadpool series were literally done in After Effects, and Premiere Pro is the cutting tool. So we will learn all the special effects, like what you can see here with the roundhouse kick with the purple flame coming out of you. And yeah, it'll be really cool and super exciting to see what you guys can put together. Then we'll learn Unity, which is the 3D engine. So you'll be able to learn how to make either a 3D or a 2D game. It's the same engine that Rust was developed in. And there is a potential also to do some virtual reality stuff in this engine, which will be really cool. And the last skill that we'll be learning is the website development. So we will be basically building a website from beginning to the end of a commercial standard. To give some perspective, usually it costs about $500 a year to host one of these websites on Squarespace, and we'll be learning all the skills behind this that students will be able to take on for the rest of their lives. The websites that they'll be developed will be responsive, so they'll work not just on the mobile phone but also on the tablet and then also on the desktop as normal. In Stage 6, Software Design and Development. So the first question we always get asked is, what happens in software design and development? And it's pretty simple. We basically develop computer programs. So students will learn how to use Python, JavaScript, PHP, C# and another number of other languages to learn about programming and how to develop software. This course involves creativity, independent learning, and group work. Those who study this course are provided with a systematic approach to problem solving. Some of the programs that they may develop include simple applications, gaming, and then also web development. So the number one question we always get asked is, who should do this course? And it's pretty simple. It's anyone who's interested in coding, computers, and making applications. And the also good news is there is no prerequisite for this course. This subject has a major practical component, so it's very important that they develop those coding skills as we're going through. And there is also an HSC exam at the end. That's worth 3 hours worth of, which is based on course theory, which we will be practicing all the way throughout the 2 years. In the preliminary course, students will develop a major program as part of a group, and then smaller programs individually as we go through. And then during Year 12, students will be able to extend their understanding of a software language of their choice and independently create a major project that they can showcase in their portfolio. Year 11s basically have a 60% of their assessment is practical, and then in Year 12, 40% of the assessment is practical. The applications that they'll learn is basically the programming languages as described before, so Python, Java, JavaScript, and C#. We also have a little play with databases, in particular SQL with MySQL. Some word processing skills using Word and Docs, and then also web design using HTML5, CSS, and PHP. And finally, a little bit of image editing in case we want to play a few of those games using Photoshop and Illustrator. We'll also learn how to do the documentation, so making sure that we can clearly show the client how the program works and making sure that users are having an enjoyable experience. And then some of the things that, again, we will be covering is web applications, normal applications, so something like calculators or a simple email client. And then lastly, we'll be going through how to build some simple games, which will be a lot of fun. Stage 6 Industrial Technology Timber allows students to build real-world projects right here in the TAS faculty's shed. And I'm very excited to share with you all the different opportunities that they have. So to begin with, one of the main questions we get asked is, what is Industrial Technology Timber? So Industrial Technology Timber offers the opportunity for students to invent and design their own products. It also allows them to build multiple pieces of furniture and or timber-centric products. And while doing this, they learn all the skills to solve real-world problems and their challenges. The final project that they undertake can include a different range of opportunities, including tables, chairs and stools, jewelry boxes, or a TV unit. Now, this is just the start, as the list is almost endless, and it's only limited by their imagination. So the next main question we always get is, who should do this course? This course will suit you if you have any or one of these following qualities. So if you like logic to solve and like applying it to solve problems and make decisions, this is the course for you. If you enjoy designing, being creative and generating ideas while being innovative, this is the course for you. If you have a keen eye and attention to detail with an appreciation of fine furniture, this is definitely the course for you. So what else does this subject offer? So it introduces students to the opportunity to design and create a piece of fine timbered furniture from design and conceptualization all the way through to a finished product. While doing this, they also learn how to project manage all the way from the beginning to the end, and also all the documentation for this process. The content that they will be covering in Year 11, students will be learn how to create their own bedside table, carcass construction, drawer making, door making and hanging, and then also while doing this an industry study. And then in Year 12, like we've just explored, they get to build their own product that they would like to do while also doing all the industry study. Here's a few examples of some of the really intricate designs that have been made in the past for Year 12. So this is a desk over here, green screen over there, and then right here we have a side table that they can build. And then this is a video of a jewelry box that was made last year. So as you can see all the joining methods that have been used, which is really cool. And then basically they'll learn all these skills all the way throughout the course of the year. So if you have any further questions, please feel free either to email myself or Mr. Tony Wright, who is the timber teacher and the TAS coordinator. And yeah, we'll be more than happy to answer any of the questions you may have. So I look forward to seeing you in Industrial Technology Timber next year. Thank you very much.
I'm now joined by Mr. Henderson, who's the Director of TAS. I've just got one question that's come up on the webinar stream tonight, which is, will the webinar be available to watch after tonight? Yes, it's going to remain on the Lindisfarne YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch it, and for any students who've missed it tonight, they can go back and watch it. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in this evening. It's the first time we've done a webinar live like this, so it's great that so many people have joined in to watch this stream this evening. So, Steve, I've got a question about industrial technology and the strand of timber, because that's one of the strands that's offered in that course. Do you need to be experienced with timber in order to participate in the subject?
Well, really, that's a really good question. Just to answer really simply, not really. We can basically start timber at any stage, and we've got all the facilities there to get kids straight off and getting into it, which is really cool.
Excellent. So one of the other questions that we have is how much of a balance is there between practical and theoretical work?
Yep, with that particular subject, a lot more focus on the practical aspect. Obviously they've got to map the design processes as they're going through, but yeah, it's a lot more of the practical aspect and getting their hands dirty and building stuff.
Excellent. We've just got another question coming in on the stream, so just need to make sure that I can see those questions as they come up. So the next question is about industrial technology multimedia, which is another strand of industrial technology. You can only pick one strand of industrial technology, but you can either do multimedia or timber, depending on which way your technological love lies. So the first one is, do I need to pay for additional software to be part of the course for multimedia?
That's the really good news with that subject. There's actually no extra additional fees. So all the software that we'll be using that subject is totally free. And we've also already paid for the Adobe products.
Excellent.
Which is excellent.
Okay, for if I was going to build a computer game, do I need to know how to code for multimedia?
That's a really good question as well. So with Unity, actually don't need any coding experience. You can just use the scripts that are pre-built inside. And that's the great experience with that compared to the other software subjects. So they can focus more on the design aspect than actually getting in and doing all the coding.
Excellent. So just for those students that are away, industrial technology applies making a product and also doing a portfolio, which goes towards the HSC course. So the next question is about software design development. So one of the questions is, if I don't know how to code, will I be okay in this subject?
Yep, absolutely. So we start the first term learning how to code in Python, and then basically using that all the way through the 2-year course. So if you have no experience in coding, you can basically learn at the beginning. Obviously, if you've done IT 9 and 10, it will make it a little bit easier for you. But if you have no coding experience, absolutely can jump in at any stage.
Excellent. So one of the other questions about software is how many weeks do you spend on projects?
Yep. On average, it's probably about 12 weeks. So it's not one massive, huge project like the industrial tech, which gives them more sort of opportunity to practice and experiment with different coding expertise, and then along the way they can learn, fail, and then grow from it a bit quicker.
Yeah. And one of the other things I would say about software design and development is that it is a project-based course, but in actual fact the project isn't actually handed in. It's just that they have to do projects in the course just to show their techniques and skills, but it's actually not handed in to NESA. So the next question that we have is about engineering studies, and it says, do a high level of science needed or maths in order to do engineering studies?
Look, it absolutely helps, but anyone can basically jump in, but I would strongly suggest to have that sort of background and also the support of the other subjects, maybe physics and maybe a chemistry interest as well would definitely help with that.
Excellent. And so one of the next questions also relates to engineering studies. How does the content covered relate to university studies?
Yep, a lot of the subjects, and in particular the projects, are taken from first year university subjects. So particularly the Balsa Bridge, I know for a fact is the first sort of subject that you do at university. So it's sort of a double dip that you get to experience it at school, and then when you go to university you already have that experience, which is really cool.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us this evening. Up next is a clip about LOTE, which is languages other than English.
When thinking about a foreign language as a selection choice in Year 11, a number of important points should be considered. Firstly, your analytical skills improve when students study a foreign language. In fact, your English improves with language ability. Business skills plus foreign language skills make an employee more valuable in the marketplace. Dealing with another culture enables people to gain a more profound understanding of their own culture. International travel is made much easier. Foreign language study enhances one's opportunities in government, business, medicine, law, technology, the military, industry, marketing, and so on. In the career world, the foreign language will give you that competitive edge in areas such as tourism, hospitality, aviation, education, business, and many, many more. Foreign languages open the door to art, music, dance, fashion, cuisine, film, philosophy, and science. At Lindisfarne, the courses offered in modern languages are French and Japanese beginners, French and Japanese continuers. There are eligibility requirements for these courses. For the beginners course, students must not have studied the language of their choice after stage 4. For continuers in French and Japanese, this course is for students who have studied the language of their choice in stage 5 or who have a background knowledge of the language. So what do we study in Japanese and French at a senior level? At the beginners course, the main topics are your family, where you live, and your neighbourhood. Talking about people, places and communities. Talking about your school and work. Talking about your friends, what you do in your spare time and your hobbies. You're also taught how to talk about holidays, travel and tourism. And also a very important topic is to talk about your future plans and aspirations after school. The topics that we study in the continuous course in modern languages in French and Japanese include the individual, talking more in detail about yourself, relationships, your school life, your dreams for the future, leisure and pastimes. Travel and tourism, the world of work, current issues, young people's world, and many other topics are studied in depth. So what objectives do these courses offer you? At the end of year 12, obviously you'll be able to interact with people speaking that language. You'll be able to understand them. Your listening skills will improve. Your speaking skills will be sufficient to talk on familiar topics. In Japanese, you'll be able to produce Japanese written texts. You'll be able to read those texts in hiragana, katakana, and kanji. And the last thing about why you should study a foreign language, it is so cool.
Thank you to Mr. Miller for making that clip about LOTE in stage 6. So I've got a couple of questions. For those of you who don't know, I also do oversee languages here at Lindisfarne. So one of the questions we often get asked is, can I do beginners if I did Japanese in year 9? And the answer is unfortunately not. Once you've done Japanese past or French past year 8, you have to do a continuous course. So there are some rules and regulations about the languages that you can study once you get to stage 6 to whether you can do a beginner's course or a continuous course. Another question I often get asked is, can I do another language other than French and Japanese? And the answer is yes. So if you are wanting to study another language but not sure which one you would like to do, if you can come along and see me or email me, then I can arrange whether those languages are possible. So next up we're going to hear from Mr. Robbins, and we're going to watch a clip from the site.
Hello, my name's Dan Robbins and I'm the Director of Science here at Lindisfarne Anglican Grammar School. I'm here to talk to you today about the offerings for next year with subject selection, and just to try and make your choice a little bit easier when it comes to making your subject choices. With science in stage 6, you can do a maximum of 7 units. So we have 8 units of science that are possibly you can choose in year 11. Then there's the option when you get to year 12 of picking up an extra unit in extension science, and we'll talk about that right at the end. So with the subjects that we've got offered for next year, or for year 11, we've got biology to begin with. So biology is the life science. So the year 11 course really focuses on really the natural world, and so looking at cells as the basis for life, and really how living things are organised, including biological diversity and ecosystems. Then in year 12, the focus shifts towards more human biology, so looking at things like hereditary, genetic change, infectious diseases, non-infectious diseases and disorders. If we then shift across to chemistry, so chemistry also consists of 4 modules in each of the 2 years. With the Year 11 course, it's really about giving you the foundation in chemistry. So we talk about the structure and properties of matter. We look at an introduction to quantitative chemistry, look at the reactions in chemistry, and then the things that drive those chemical reactions. When we get to Year 12, of course, we then start looking and building upon those Year 11 concepts. So we look at equilibrium, acid-base reactions, organic chemistry, and then applying those chemical ideas to industry. We then move to investigating science, which is a relatively new science course. It dovetails very nicely with all these other sciences. So it's a more general science course in terms of its scope, but not in terms of its difficulty. So with that Year 11 course, we're really looking at what is the foundations of science, looking at how we observe, how we use cause and effect, what we do with inferences and generalizations, even going into how scientific theories and laws are characterized. Again, Year 12 will build upon those building blocks to then look at that. So as I said before, doing investigating science with one of the other sciences really can help complement your studies in the other 3. Finally, we've then got physics. So physics is a physical science, a little bit like chemistry. But if you remember things that you did in Year 10 to do with motion and electricity, generators and those sorts of things, that's what we're talking about with physics. So in Year 11, kinematics, dynamics, waves and thermodynamics, electricity and magnetism. Year 12, again, building upon those things to look at advanced mechanics, electromagnetism, the nature of light, and then looking at the history of our understanding of the atom and those sorts of things, so from the universe to the atom. The other interesting thing that if you get through one of those courses, if you select one and then you get through Year 11, you do have the option of then choosing extension science. So extension science is a 1-unit subject that can be picked up in Year 12, which has, again, 4 modules. Again, a little bit like investigating science, you can really tailor it toward which science is your more preferred branch. So we're looking at the foundations of scientific thinking, and then you'll really look at trying to delve into a particular scientific research project, looking at a proposal, looking at gathering your data, and then presenting a final report. So I guess the question's then asked, why would I choose a science in my pattern of study for Year 11 and 12? Well, obviously, if you've got a career path that looks like it might need science or as a prerequisite for a university degree that you're looking for, then you're going to be looking at one or more of those sciences. I guess the other important thing to remember is that even if you don't know what you want to do, you really don't want to close any doors at this stage when you're trying to choose your subjects. So by choosing a science, that's part of a well-balanced pattern of study. And as I said before, no doors are closed. So choosing one science, if you've got a particular branch that you're interested in, just keeps that balance for you. The important thing to remember is you can't choose any more than 6 units of science in Year 11, which can then be increased to 7 units of science in Year 12.
I'm now joined by Mr. Dan Robbins, the Director of Science, and just got a couple of questions for Mr. Robbins. So one of the questions that's come up is, can I do all 3 science subjects?
Absolutely. In Year 11 you can do 6 units of science. So there are 4 subjects that we offer here at Lindisfarne, so you can choose any 3 of those. As I said in the clip just earlier, I guess it comes down to what you're looking at doing. So if you have a passion for science or you're looking at going down that road, you can absolutely do 3 sciences and then perhaps even pick up an extra unit of extension science in Year 12, so up to 7 units. And if you're not quite sure what you want to do, then really it comes down to perhaps having a balanced pattern of study, and I think that science is part of any balanced pattern. So yes, you can do 3 science that answer that question.
Excellent, thank you. So one of the other questions is, do I need to do advanced maths to do physics or chemistry?
Like a lot of the questions tonight when it comes to prerequisites, it's not necessary to do advanced maths, but highly recommended. So there are, particularly in physics, having an understanding of high-level maths is certainly an advantage, and some of those concepts that are covered in the physics and chemistry courses do require a good understanding of maths. So I would say highly recommended for those.
Okay, so we've just had a question from the stream. So what path can those students who are doing accelerated science currently, so currently they're doing biology, so what path can they do next year as well?
Yeah, so for our accelerated students that are already doing biology, they can choose another science, so just pick up a science like they regularly would, like some of their other peers are doing now who are choosing chemistry or chemistry or physics or investigating science. So yeah, they can choose any one of those, or else they can also look at doing extension science. But my recommendation would be, if they're thinking of doing extension science in Year 12, then looking at a foundation in investigating science might be a good path. But they're free to choose any of the other sciences, but the rules still apply where they can't do any more than 7 units in total of science in the Year 12 pattern. So for Year 11, only 3 subjects.
Excellent, great, thank you very much. So thank you very much, Mr. Robbins, for joining me. Next up we have Human Society and Environment, and Mr. Brian Malone.
Good evening, my name is Brian Malone and I'm the Director of HSIE. This year we have a large number of subjects in the HSIE faculty for you to choose from. They include business studies, legal studies, 1 unit and 2 unit studies of religion, economics, modern history, ancient history, geography and history extension. The first question that most students ask me is, why should I study subjects within the HSIE department? And there are many answers to these questions. Some of them include, it is the study of the real world. We look at major issues that are happening throughout the world and we go deep into them to work out how that might impact us in our different subjects. HSIE also has something for everyone, for all interests and all personalities. Whether you want to be a lawyer, whether you want to be a businessman, it doesn't matter. Whether you want to work as an archaeologist or work in geography, it doesn't matter. It's also the study of the real issues that affect us. We also look at government decisions and how they impact us. The great thing about the HSIE subjects is that they complement each other, but they also complement other subject areas. It isn't uncommon to come across a student doing 3 or 4 of our HSIE subjects, but it's also common to come across a student who's focusing on science or maths, but wants a business studies or one of our other subjects to make their load a little bit varied. The great thing about HSIE is that it develops analytical and creative thinking. It is at the core of most of our subjects. But the real reason is that with HSIE is that it explains world events and it explains the world. The first subject students can choose is business studies. Have you ever wanted to make a difference? To change the world? To be your own boss? To make your own decisions and impact lives for the better? Studying business studies teaches you to create, build, and run your own business. Together, we will look at how to market your business, work with people of diverse cultures and experience, manage your money, and build an empire. Not only do we learn how to do it in business we actually do it. Another subject you can pick is legal studies. What is legal studies about? At the core of legal studies, the major theme is about justice and the balancing of rights. We look at the role and structure of the legal system. You will investigate laws in relation to values, morals and ethics, where we'll look at a number of issues including the study of laws to do with women, surrogacy, the topic of crime, family law. We look at international law, where we focus on the UN, as well as nuclear proliferation, child soldiers, and human trafficking. We will also look at your rights and responsibilities as consumers, as young people, and as global citizens. And of course, we will always be focusing on current affairs. Throughout the course, we will keep up with what's happening throughout the world and in our own country. What's happening in the news today usually relates to the law. In economics, you may not have heard of economics before, but it is actually already part of your everyday life. You might have a job, in which case you would know about unemployment and wages. You probably have a bank account, in which case you would have heard about interest rates. And you certainly already act as a consumer by buying goods and services, in which case you already know a lot about how prices can influence your spending decisions. In economics, we explore these concepts further by putting ourselves in the shoes of governments to understand the costs and benefits of economic stimulus packages such as the recent JobKeeper. And we put ourselves in the shoes of individual consumers to understand how decisions are made by everyday people like you and the power of that within the economic system. Students should not pick economics as a subject unless they have the passion and the ability to excel. Economics is a difficult subject. Please see myself or one of the other commerce teachers if you are unsure whether economics suits you. The next option to look at is modern history. Just who was Hitler anyway? How did a man with such an unusual moustache convince a country to go to war? Why has America erupted into chaos after the death of an African American? The answers to these and other puzzling questions are hidden in the vaults of modern history. Bring your curiosity, your nose for a story, and your ability to ask questions to class, and you will have a fabulous 2 years. We also have the option this year of both 1 unit and 2 unit studies of religion. Do you love history? Do you love philosophy? Combine them both and you have studies of religion. You will discover that the closest traditional family relationship system to Indigenous Australians is the ancient Scottish clan system. You might be surprised when you discover that Islam and Christianity have more in common than you think. Most of all, you will love the discussions about the big ideas, ethics and time to usually investigate social constructs that you rarely have a chance to raise. Geography is the study of people and their interaction with the environment. It is the perfect subject to bridge the gap between the social sciences and physical science subjects. Geography is about the real world and what is happening right now, and about planning for a sustainable future. Skills you develop in geography, such as critical thinking, decision-making, teamwork, environmental and social awareness, numeracy, and verbal and written communication can be utilised in a manner of multidisciplinary career paths. Geography covers a whole variety of different topics, including population geography, cultural integration, development, megacities, ecosystems, and tourism. Students also undertake an independent study on a geography area of their choosing for their senior geography project, a great insight into a university dissertation. Fieldwork continues to be an integral part of geography in the senior years, and you will complete fieldwork in Sydney and Fraser Island to study the urban landscapes and the threats to the unique.
I'm now joined by Mr. Brian Malone, the Director of HSIE, who's now going to answer a few questions. So welcome, Brian. So one of the first questions we have is, should I have studied commerce in stage 5, so that's year 9 and 10, to study business studies, legal studies or economics in stage 6?
There is no need to study commerce to start any of the stage 6 courses. All of the stage 6 courses start new. There is no prior knowledge needed. It does help in some cases, but the teacher will be going over all of the skills from stage 5 again.
Excellent. So one of the other subjects that's often asked, is economics harder than any of the other HSIE subjects?
The quick answer to that is yes, it is much harder, and this year we're really asking the students to think carefully about whether they should do this subject. If you have a passion in the area, then by all means pick the subject. But if you're a little bit unsure, please come and talk to myself or speak to Mr. Woods about whether the subject is the right fit for you. We also have business studies and legal studies, which may be a better fit for you for studying the HSC.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Mr. Malone, for joining me this afternoon on this webinar, and now I'm just going to wrap up and go through a few other questions that have come through. Okay, so one of the questions that has come through is, should students talk to me or to Mr. Woods before selecting their subject? And if you want to get some further advice, it's always a really good idea to ask your teachers and also the directors of faculty. But you don't need to select the subjects until after you've met with Mr. Woods. The form is going to be open until the first week of next term, so there's no need to choose the subjects before then. So just in wrapping up, I'm going to go through a few things. So subject selection, the actual form opens tomorrow. The students will be emailed a web code and they would select subjects online like they have done for the last couple of years. After those selections have been done, then we will start to look at the lines and ensure that we know what subjects will run when, and hopefully make sure that most of the students get into all the subjects they would like to do. Mr. Woods, as I said, will be interviewing the students over the next couple of weeks, and as parents, if you want to make a time to meet with Mr. Woods, please email him and he will get back in touch with you. I also did send through some information which was from NESA about subject selections, the units that students can select, the ATAR and scaling and the minimum standards. So if you have any questions about any of the information that was emailed home to do with NESA, please make sure that you do contact me so that I can go through that in detail. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on this first ever Lindisfarne webinar for subject selection. I'd especially like to thank also the production crew that are sitting, that I can see from here. I know they're behind the cameras and computers, but it was great to have everybody here this evening. And so I'd like to thank you for giving up your time this evening to join us. But please, if you have any questions, my email address is in the live stream, so please make sure that you do email me. And thank you very much from the directors and myself for joining us this evening.